Hello, welcome to the Dream Stories channel. We are glad to see you on our next shocking story. Enjoy watching. Tanya, you shouldn't blame me for anything. You know perfectly well that I'm a young man. I want to live, and I have to sit at home with a sorrowful face, because you can't go anywhere. Volodya, why can't I go out? I've got my hands and feet in one piece. For some reason you don't want to go out with me. Vladimir jumped up, pacing the room. Of course I do. And how can I go out with you if even the dogs are running away from you? Tanya shrank back. She understood that Vladimir was right about something. But after all, you can find some way out of the situation. She could take out a loan, get plastic surgery. Yes, it's expensive, and you have to pay the money back for years. Volodya. Tanya, that's it. I'm tired. You know that because of you, my life is a misery. You don't work anyway, you don't do any good. So I don't think you care where you live. Tanya, you've got to admit, you've got to understand that you're superfluous here. I don't understand, Volodya. What do you mean? Do you want to throw me out? But where will I go? Well, why kick you out? I'm a human being too. I'll take you to the village. My grandmother left me a house there, and you must remember we went there once. That's where you'll live. There are hardly any people there, so you won't be able to scare anyone. Tanya looked at her husband in horror. He can't mean it. It's just a bad joke. But Volodya's face was as serious as ever. Tanya. When she came out of oblivion after the accident, the first thing she asked about her husband's condition. The doctor reassured her. Your husband was born with his shirt on. A few abrasions, not even a single fracture. Everything ended well for him. The car was turned so that all the impact fell on your side. Tanya closed her eyes. Some scraps, some screaming. Something wasn't right. Somehow something was wrong in this accident, only she couldn't figure out what. Well, nothing. The main thing was that everyone was alive. She woke up and Volodya was almost unharmed. When she found out that her face had been damaged, she was upset. But she didn't realize yet how bad it was. When Volodya saw her, after the bandages had been removed, he could not help himself and even recoiled. The doctor warned her that this could be the reaction, so she kept silent. The doctor said that time must pass, and if a man loves her, he will certainly accept her as she is. Volodya did not. It was almost a year after the accident, but he never once came to her room. He just moved into the big room and slept there. Deep in her heart, Tanya understood that it could not last that long. But still, these words of her husband literally crushed her. But why? I have to leave. I want to stay here. Tanya, you can't stay here. Don't you understand that you're horrible, and people hate to see you? 2 days later, Tanya got into a car. It was a different car. Tanya, who hadn't been outside, hadn't seen it yet. Did you buy it? What difference does it make? Come on, move it already. Tanya sat silently in the back seat. You have to hand it to her husband. He even bought her a whole bag of groceries. Tanya really didn't look at what was in it, and she wasn't interested. It was a long ride. Tanya even dozed off. She was awakened by a terrible jolting. She was very frightened at first, but then she understood. They had entered a village. The house looked miserable. Or rather, she couldn't even see the house itself. It was all overgrown with weeds. Vladimir quickly took out all of her suitcases, silently turned around and drove away. Tanya looked at the car. Tears flowed from her eyes. She understood that now she would live here forever. The car disappeared, and Tanya turned towards the house. She stood for a while, then picked up her suitcases and dragged them across the tall grass. Good morning, girl. Let me give you a hand. Tanya was afraid to turn around lest she frighten the man. Judging by his voice, the man was no longer young. She quickly took a handkerchief from her pocket and put it to her face. Only then did she turn around. Hello. No need, I can manage. An elderly man was standing in front of her. She could see at once that he was not a local, not a countryman. He had a neatly trimmed beard and a cane in his hand. He looked about 60 years old, maybe a little more. Well, the most important thing that distinguished him from the villagers was his perfectly white, pressed pants, and the same shirt. It's commendable that you want to handle everything yourself, but when there's any man around, even an ancient one like me, You can't refuse help. You are a lady after all. All this was said in such a pompous, but at the same time funny tone that Tanya could not stand it, and hummed not to laugh. Yes, the situation. They took her out into the woods so she wouldn't scare people, and she's laughing at the words of an old man passing by. The handkerchief slipped from her hands and fell. Tanya expected a reaction. Well, what's the point of hiding now? But there was no reaction. Well, what about you? Go ahead, open the doors. Tanya turned away in surprise and walked towards the house, holding the suitcase in one hand and the bag in the other. And the man, picking up 2 more bags, followed her. Yes, it's overgrown here. You should ask the men. They'll make a desert for you in no time. I don't know anybody here. And I don't like to ask. I'll do it myself. You don't know. Aren't you from around here? I thought this was your house. It's my husband's house. Or rather his grandmother's. He got tired of looking at me. He said I was scaring people and disturbing his life. So he brought me here, to live. Nonsense. To live. How old are you? 30. 32. Life's just beginning, and you're going to live it out. And your husband, I'm sorry, he's a bastard and a bastard. Tanya grinned sadly. Even if he is a bastard. But now he is well. Because Tanya does not loom in front of his eyes, does not interfere with his life. But she would have to live in the middle of nowhere in this village, and probably forever now. The old man's name was Ivan Nikiforovich, and he came to the village to visit. You know, it's not like it's human. In theory, old people should go to the countryside, and young people should live in the city. But here it's the opposite. 5 years ago my son went here. He had some grief in his life. I thought he'd live a while, lick his wounds and come back. But he didn't come back. Can you imagine? He's got himself a gamekeeper here. He built a big house. And now, I go and visit him to rest from the bustle of the city. Tanya herself didn't notice how she got to talking. She was cleaning. Ivan Nikiforovich was helping. Oh, Tanya. Look at it, it is possible to live. Tanya wiped the sweat from her forehead. Yes, what would I do without you? I don't know what to do. Oh, stop it, you yourself have done so much. But I must take my leave. I still have to get to the forest, my son has a house there. Ivan Nikiforovich left, promising to certainly visit her tomorrow, and Tanya was surprised when she looked at her watch. She was so tired that she did not even have dinner. She just took apart the sofa, laid it with the linen she had brought with her, and fell asleep. She was awakened by a strange sound. As if something rhythmically shuffles, rubs or rustles. Tanya lay there for a long time, not understanding where it was coming from. Then she got up after all. She realized that the sound was coming from the street, and cautiously looked out from behind the door. A man was cowering with his back to her. He was shirtless, and Tanya even froze as she saw the muscles that were walking in a rustling rhythm. From the looks of it, the man was young. But what she should do now, she just didn't know. Ahem. He turned around and smiled. Good morning, Tatiana. My name is Igor. I'm Ivan Nikiforovich's son. Oh, hello. Tanya realized too late that she had not covered her face with anything. The woman felt embarrassed, but now it was too late to do anything. She straightened up proudly. Tea or coffee, perhaps? I wouldn't say no. By the way, Daddy was making some specialty pie at home. He said he'd be home in time for breakfast. As if by magic, Ivan Nikiforovich appeared at the gate. Tanya and Yegor laughed. Tatiana did not notice how the month flew by. She did not cover her face at all, because neither Ivan Nikiforovich nor Yegor did not pay any attention to the fact that it was disfigured. And one day, he and Yegor got into a conversation, and he told them that he had come here after his young wife had been killed in a car accident. Tanya was silent for a while. Then she said, "How I wish I had been in her place. I'd rather have died than, like now, be just thrown away." Yegor jumped up. What are you saying? What are you saying in general? You are a smart, beautiful woman. You have a couple of burns on your face, which any plastic surgeon would remove, and you wish you were dead. Igor, I have no money, no support. You know, I just recently remembered what was wrong with that accident. I remembered. It wasn't the car that swerved. My husband swerved it to keep himself safe. There you go. After that, I don't want to live at all. Jaeger suddenly laughed. You're so stupid. He's a bastard. Let him suffer. And you should be happy. You're alive and you're free from such a bastard. Jaeger sat down next to her. He hugged her. Well, what's up? Their eyes met, and Jaeger's embrace suddenly became so hot. Vladimir sighed. Well, darling, you need too much money for a wedding like you want. Volodya, I don't understand, don't you have any money? Or do you feel sorry for me? Well, no, not at all, kitten. I don't feel sorry for you. By the way, I have an idea. We could sell that house in the village that my grandmother left me. Is that the one you evicted your ex-girlfriend to? That's right. Marinolka laughed. Where's she going? To the woods. To the woods. What do I care about her now? Well, you're really something, darling. Now I believe that you love me. Vladimir was approaching the village. He was a little nervous because the customers were following him. What if Tanya begins to behave badly? Or in general, did something to the house? What would he sell then? After driving around the village for a while, he realized that the roof of the house was sticking out. Well, that's a good thing. At least she didn't burn it down. It means that the house should be inhabited and well-groomed. Tanka in general likes comfort and cleanliness. By the way, unlike Marinatka. But Marinatka is forgivable. She is so beautiful that Volodya himself will wash the dishes and vacuum. As long as Marina does not pout her pretty lips. He drove up and was surprised. No flowers, nothing was trimmed, and the windows were dusty. What is it, Tanka? She has lost her mind. Volodya smiled guiltily at the buyers. We'd rarely come here. We don't have time for anything. He tried to open the gate, which was entangled in the grass. What people, Volodya, you're going to see his wife. He turned sharply and saw Tatiana. True, he did not immediately recognize her. On the face, only a small trace of a scar, and that barely visible. Next to her was a man. Healthy-looking, his eyes that he glares Volodya unkind. Tanya, and you? And why are you? The customers were watching them attentively. They had seen the man's fiancée, and here she turns out to be his wife. And not alone, but with some man. I wonder. What, Volodya, you don't understand how I almost died here? You only bought me the cheapest macaroni and tea. Well, thank you for that too. Thought of my wife when I got rid of her. Tanya, shut up. Why isn't the grass tidied up? I let you in my house after all. Tanya laughed. What a bastard you are, Volodya, but you shouldn't have sold the house. You'll have nowhere to live. I've sued you. Thanks. Good people told me that the guy who caused the accident gave you a lot of money to rebuild me. I just didn't know about it for some reason. It was easier for you to send your ugly wife here. But you're out of luck. My father-in-law, my husband's father, turned out to be a great lawyer. I'll take one half of the apartment because I'm entitled to it in the division of property, and the other half for the money you didn't spend on my operation. Be strong, Volodya. I hear you're getting married soon. So you and your wife will have a place to live. Tanya took Jaeger by the arm and went on. Volodya noticed that her tummy had noticeably rounded. Tanya, are you all right? She smiled at Jaeger. I'm fine. As if she had pulled out a splinter. Volodya, on the other hand, was very upset. If Tanya was telling the truth, then very soon he would really be homeless. Moreover, and without Marinaka, it is without options. He quickly moved to the car. Need to think of something urgent. Vladimir, shall we look at the house? What house? He waved his hand, got in the car, and raced toward town. Maybe I can sell the apartment before they take it away from me. Thank you for your watching. See you next time.